Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting on June 22nd, 2026. It's 5 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order, beginning with the invocation led by Pastor Mulberry and Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Alexander. Please stand if you're able.
Let us pray. Father, again, thank you for allowing us to come together. We give you thanks and praise for your goodness towards us. We pray, God, your blessing upon this city. Continue to bless the constituents, God, that serve in these capacities. We pray, God, that you will ever keep us mindful of who you are and what you can do. We pray for the wisdom that is necessary to guide this city, God, in the way that you would have it to go. And we'll be so careful to give thy worthy name the praise, the glory, and the honor, because it all belongs to you. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis? Present. Commissioner Campbell?
Present.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Boren? Commissioner Alexander?
Here.
Mr. Deputy?
Present.
Mayor Carrera?
Present. We have quorum, thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from May 18th, 2026, regular meeting minutes, and June 10th, 2026, budget workshop?
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to public comments for items not listed on the agenda. If anybody here is for public comments, 3 minutes, please. Give your name and city or town of residence. Be respectful, and we will not respond at this time. Ms. Kitchens.
Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida. I have a bit of humor for you folks. Your new representative from the Putnam County Board of Commissioners is Josh Pellissier.
No.
That's what it says here. Welcome, Mr. Pellissier. And
That's
the other
true.
thing, well, I'll get to it later, but yeah, I just want to point out, it says Josh Pellissier, and I think it's Josh Alexander. I find it humorous, I'm not upset, I just think it's funny. We need a little levity, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kitchens.
Sorry about that, Mr. Alexander.
That's all right. I'm a lot younger and better looking than he is.
Is there anybody else here for public comments for items not specifically listed on the agenda? Come in, Ms. Duke.
Vicki Duke, Palatka, Florida. I first want to thank the CRA for replacing the rotted wood on the Tillman House. But I do have some concerns. I have talked with the city and David about some of the issues that were done at the house. Now, the Palatka Art League are taking care of some of the things that they messed up, like the brass kick plate on the back of the door. Instead of covering it or removing it, they got paint all over it, so we've taken it off, acid washed it, replaced it. I reported that, but we took care of that. One of the window sills is cracked completely open and wood is missing, so water can run directly down the wall. That wasn't replaced, but we've checked on it. We're going to caulk on the inside and seal it, but that window also doesn't shut all the way. But we can put a gasket in there. There is a lock on it, so we are taking care of that so that rain will stop blowing in and going down the wall and ruining the plaster. Okay, then paint and splatters everywhere, whether it's on the steps or on the back concrete. I'm not going to worry about that. You know, it's the whole house. I'm not going to worry about it. Big splatter in the back, big spot about this big. Maybe we'll paint a rose over it or something. They damaged our 4 chairs that I'd left on the front porch, which I shouldn't have done. It was used as a sawhorse and to hold paint cans, so I've just finished repainting all 4 chairs and the table and repaired one of the chairs, and I'll have the other chair repaired this week, and it'll go back on the front porch. Main thing I would like for them to look at this, they put up new wood, and I assume they primed it. I know the first time they said they primed it, and then they painted it. Well, the knot holes in the pine, you know how wood has, it's already showing through the paint. You've got these splotches of yellow starting to show through the paint. So I question what kind of primer they used and what kind of paint they used, because that was brand new wood and it's already showing these spots. That's disappointing. If it was my house, but this is the city's house, I would be very disappointed that it's already showing through the paint. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garris?
Pam Garris, Palatka, Florida. Could CRA funds be used to demolish, foreclose, or abate blighted homes in the historic districts? And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Do we want to respond to these 2 items that came up quickly, or do we want to wait on this and get more information?
I'd like to be able to follow up with the ladies that presented
Okay.
directly.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So as you heard, Ms. Curry will follow up with both of you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. This one. Pam Garris was the last person that
Correct.
spoke. The one before her,
Vicky Duke,
Duke.
Duke.
Thank you.
Yes. Is there anybody else here for public comments? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments. We're going to go on to regular business for A, St. John's Avenue intersection evaluation and repair strategy. Ms. Orr?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
This is an update at the direction of the board. You had asked me to get with our in-house engineer to start the process on evaluating the intersections on St. John's Avenue and preparing a plan. So that's what I've done, and I've worked with Caitlin, our in-house engineer who's here. She can speak to some of the specifics on here, but I just wanted to give you a brief summary of where we're at right now and some of the pricing associated with this. The St. John's Avenue Streetscape project included the installation of permeable paver intersections at multiple locations along the corridor, and these intersections were designed to serve both aesthetic and stormwater treatment functions. Staff has observed increasing deterioration within several intersections, including cracked pavers, rutting, settlement, and utility structures no longer remaining flush with the roadway surface. And Mr. Deputy can attest to this. He's got a really bad intersection right outside of his business. To better understand the cause of the deterioration, identify an appropriate long-term solution, the city's in-house engineer completed a preliminary engineer review, a summary memorandum outlining the observed conditions, potential contributing factors, recommended repair approach, and planning level cost estimates is attached for your review. Full project plans will also be available at the meeting should the board wish to review them in greater detail. Based on the preliminary engineering evaluation, the observed deterioration appears to be structural rather than cosmetic in nature. Potential contributing factors identified for further evaluation include heavy vehicle loading, pavement-based performance, and varying surface conditions beneath the roadway. The engineering review concludes that isolated paver replacement or spot repairs would not adequately address the underlying cause of the failure, and instead, staff recommends a phased approach beginning with additional investigation and engineering design to verify existing conditions and develop a permanent repair solution. Phase 1 would include surveying, geotechnical testing, engineer design, and permitting review necessary to determine an approach reconstruction strategy and refine construction cost estimate. And upon completion of Phase 1, staff would return to the CRA Board with final repair recommendations, project costs, procurement documents, and implementation schedule for construction. Phase 1 for the geotech surveying would probably run somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. The city's in-house engineer, Caitlin, is here, and she's available for any questions that you may have. And attached is the memorandum document and supporting engineering documents.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell.
And I'm just gonna ask this straight out. So basically, we're starting at square one again.
Basically.
Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, because you know how I feel about these intersections and their rapid deterioration. The Second Street intersection had been done some other time, and out of all of our intersections, 2nd to 11th, that's the one that is holding up, but it's pavement, with the brick square around it. Have we thought about going to the pavement versus the permeable? Because the permeable just, as the water goes through, I'm sure the sugar sand is an issue.
I'm going to let Caitlin speak to that.
Okay.
We do have the engineer here.
Good evening. So the reason for recommending that we stay with the permeable pavers is that the old roadways initially wouldn't have had stormwater treatment, but once we provided the stormwater treatment, when we would go back to modify our permit with the St. Johns River Water Management District, we'll have to continue providing some sort of water quality treatment somewhere. So our options would end up being to provide it in the same location that we're doing now, which is the intersections underneath the pavers, or we would need to find some place to build a pond, which unfortunately there really isn't necessarily a good location to build for it.
So we have to use the pavers.
Yes.
Commissioner Alexander.
So, were there not any core samples done or any bore sampling done before this project was enacted?
This one,
I mean, that's pretty much standard procedure on road base.
it is, from what I had found in their records, I think there might have been some additional compaction issues during construction. From what I saw, the intersections were constructed in 22, I believe. And the design engineer may have had a geotechnical report at that time, but I was unfortunate.
You weren't here at that point.
I wasn't at
were you?
that point and
I'm
not able to
I'm not
find a
giving you a hard
copy.
time, but it's
Okay.
just, it's crazy to me that hundreds of years ago, we could lay brick on these streets and they'd last hundreds of years, and now we can't lay a couple of pavers and then not be worn out in 6 months.
Yes, sir.
Somebody failed on this project. So now we as the citizens are being left to pick up the tab. I'm new to this, but it's upsetting to see that we gotta spend almost $750,000 to repair somebody else's project. Did we have any type of warranty, or is there any type of recourse for us as a city?
Unfortunately, when the contractors build those type of intersections, we would have typically a 1-year warranty to have them come back out and fix anything that was broken or not up to our standards, and that would have ended.
I have a quick question for Mrs. Curry. I know you're new, but, so when we put another project out like this, can we exclude someone with a poor performance history so we don't get stuck in this situation again with that vendor? Thank you very much.
Commissioner Bourne has his hand up.
Okay. Commissioner Borum? I'll get to you, Mr. Deputy. Commissioner Borum?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I mean, we've just over the years, it's just been a number of issues as it relates to whether it's any road work or intersection work. It's always been a thing where the contractors, construction that's going on, they haven't held these individuals accountable for the work. And a lot of times it's some of the repeat people who we have, we're recontracting and we're paying more and more every time. And so that's been one of my heartburns since I've been on the commission. And so that's something that we really got to get a handle on and a grip on. And I think Ms. Cynthia Kerr is going to do an excellent job with that. That's all
Thank
I have.
you. Thank you. Mr. Deputy was first, please. Mr. Deputy?
Were these intersections designed by the same engineer that designed our streetscape and our sidewalks? Is this the same company?
I think so. One
Maybe
moment.
this
It was done
information.
by Ayers
Ayers
Associates.
Okay,
Did the
it is.
intersections.
Thank you. Next question. You mentioned compacting. Now, I didn't serve on here at that time, but this one intersection is out my window. Was there supposed to be compacting done during this project?
Yes, sir. When they would have, typically when they would install these type of systems, they should have had a small compactor, like a hand push one
Okay,
that they
there
would
was
use
no
around
compact.
the
I mean, we watched
wheel.
it. I can tell you there was no compacting
Oh.
done. You know, we spread it out with the shovel and the rake. So it's making sense now. You know, my intersection is now at the point that when you drive it, you go bump, 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 and we hear in my building all day long, bump, 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 from the trucks and trailers going through. But we still have semis coming through, and St. John's Avenue is not built for semis. And I don't know what our answer is going to be, but every day I have semis in my intersection. So, you know, I know that's part of the problem.
Right, the varying capacity for the cross-section of the roadway that's out there right now, because it would have been, there, or at least there should have been a series of geotextiles.
Is it on? Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, is that, oh, okay. But they should have been a layer system of different size rock, where it would have been a bigger rock and then smaller gravel and then geotextiles. But they would have used the compactor to go around the valve lids and the manhole that's out there.
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to clarify my statement earlier, Ms. Curry. My ask was not of the final contractor putting the pieces together. It was of the engineer who designed it, because you can't be mad at the guy putting the puzzle together if it wasn't designed properly. So I did want to clarify that. And as far as Mr. Deputy's concern about the semis coming through and the 18-wheelers, I know over in Gainesville, after talking to a friend of mine that works over there in their roads and transportation, they do a lot with tabletops at the intersection as speed barriers, but it also makes it more difficult for the 18-wheelers, and typically they find another path. So when we do reconstruct these, we might want to consider a tabletop type system if we can get it to fit within the permit for the water management district.
Thank you. Traffic calming, adding traffic calming if possible. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Caitlin. We do have some folks here for public comment on this topic. Ms. Kitchens?
May I?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
And this is nothing for them. I know it's placed on there. Is there any action that we need to take as a board with regards to approving the phased approach, or how do we? I just want to make sure.
And I was
that-
going to ask that after
I just
public
want to make
comment,
sure
but
that
thank
the
you.
business is clear prior to us moving forward.
Yes, sir. So today, the ask would be to proceed with Phase 1, because until we get the geotech slices? Borings. Sorry. We won't really know how to proceed, because we'll need the information from that. So that would be that staff recommendation today, is to proceed with Phase 1. And so we will look at the budget and see where I can pull that $15,000 from.
That's my question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead,
yeah.
Commissioner.
Ms. Ault, I've been to some cities where they have the, I guess, artificial brick. It's not artificial brick, it's actually stamping, and it looks like brick. what are the chances that we could get something like, that look like that? Have we did a cost analysis or anything comparison?
It's not permeable?
It's not what?
Permeable, the water can.
Oh, okay. Answer that question. No, or we have to have a retention pond. So it is an option. I know that kind of lost my train of thought. So, where have we looked to put a retention pond? Have we? Or we just
have
say we don't
not.
have an area? Say that again?
We have not looked into that option. I'm not really sure where we would put one over there, but we can explore it.
We have a laydown lot that's not far from there. Right on
In front of the
11th, at
post
the end of
office.
11th Street, the post office. So what I'm saying is, let's thoroughly look into this thing versus it's not there, it's not feasible. Because when we're gonna spend that amount of money, I think we should evaluate all possibilities. Because what we're gonna do, board, is end up right back here again. That's what's gonna happen. Because underneath that road is not gonna change.
That's true.
We're
And
gonna
this
have
would
the
be
same
the time
problem.
to explore it at the
So,
beginning stages.
as you know, I would suggest that the engineer, you guys at least look for that option before we be back here again saying the same thing, because I think this board also, and a lot of you guys might want to know, may hadn't been on this board, but we identified the flawed work immediately, and we complained. So the year that we had, it was year that nobody was doing anything other than complaining. So who was I guess we could go from city manager spot to project manager, and so on and so forth, who should have been watching as quality assurance. And I've said this several times from here, our projects need someone to complete quality assurance on these projects. And maybe we have people in place now, but even with that, we should look for an alternative. That just don't seem like it's gonna work. And I think every merchant downtown have had this complaint, and to say that we didn't say something about it until the years passed, that's not true.
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander was before you, Mr. Commissioner Davis. Go ahead, Commissioner Alexander.
I'm going to have to agree that we do need to explore other options. And then it's just going to be on a cost analysis of whether or not we can create a retention pond, do the permitting, do the surveys, run the water over there and add the additional piping, because that gets expensive. The road base can be compacted and you can create a solid state surface underneath there, but it has to be done right the first time. We're going to, like you said, end up right back in the same spot. So we have to use a trusted engineer and make sure that we hold him accountable, as you're saying, from a
Sure.
project management standpoint. And if they don't, we need recourse as a city to protect us and our citizens.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
And so what impact does this have on our current projects that we have in that area? Will they hinder completion? And it may not mean hinder completion of the landscaping in certain portions, but the overall plan for the downtown, the St. John's street area. And where I'm going with this is we have this work occurring. We know it's impacting businesses with the work that we're having. We know we have events planned. We're trying to work around that scheduling. What impact would this potentially have on the completing that work, events we have, businesses, overall completion of the area? And where I'm going with this is really trying to understand how long this could extend that area, just the overall
How long it would be?
project and plan, and understanding the impact of this issue on our current project.
So and you might be able to speak better than I, but I don't think this would impact the current projects. Those are already ongoing. This would be a separate project, and then we would have to put out and work with the contractor on a schedule for that particular project.
Yes, and I agree, and you may not have the answer to what I'm asking, and you may have to figure this out when you go back and determine the
Which
approach.
approach.
Yes, but my point is, it may extend work beyond the current project. And it's going to impact businesses, and I'm just trying to understand the
Oh, it most
overall
definitely will.
impact and potential timeline. And again, this may be something you come back with, but I'd like to have that in your evaluation as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, it will clearly continue to be a construction zone for
Yes.
some time with this going forward, depending on the outcome and how, the length of time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so with all that said, is everybody all set? Then Ms. Allegra, could you please come up for public comment?
Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. You were spot on with everything you said. First of all, when that brick was put down, there should have been a brick mason lid. Second, yes, the compacting is good. You have to have compacting, but you also have to have a liner underneath the bricks. The old brick was put down about 140 years ago. It's still there in many streets, and guess what? Semis drove down it. Didn't hurt it one bit. The problem is you got water permeable stone put on top of sugar sand, on top of underground pipes for sewer. So the first time that water goes through that permeable brick, it's going to cause that sand to wash out, then the brick's going to sink. There is no fix of that problem except one thing. You need to put asphalt back. Real simple. And as far as the pond goes, Commissioner Jones hit on it. One at 11th and St. John's, the city owns that property. They also, unless you sold it recently, you own the property at 9th and Oak Street, across to where Bill Germany's old auction place was. You got plenty of places to put a retention pond. You own lots of property. You got surplus property. You're talking about got to get rid of surplus property. You got property all over the city, and you got property in that area. So you can find a retention pond. Don't put the bricks back. The old bricks were hard bricks. They work well. The new bricks don't work. If you put permeable bricks back, you're going to have the same problem like I think Mr. Jones or Mr. Alexander. Less than a year, it's going to be back. And yes, I complained about it almost immediately. You're going to bumpity, bumpity, bump through the intersections, and it's gotten worse. So don't put those blasted pink permeable bricks back. Find the retention pond. You've got the place you can put it. Put asphalt down, and you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duke?
Vicki Duke, Palatka, Florida. Ms. Kitchens covered most of what my concerns are about these intersections. As far as, and I think all of y'all are very qualified, as well as our engineers now, that's ours. I'm glad you're here to oversee this. But yes, there was problems from the very beginning with the way they did it. And what I would really like to re-emphasize, there was major damage to the businesses downtown when they did the brick intersections during the holiday season. It blocked off the major time, and that's when businesses have to make their money to make it through the rest of the year. So whatever, whether it's 2 years from now that it takes before this gets started, I want you to definitely look at, you will not be doing that to the businesses downtown when, during the holiday, the Christmas holidays, when they have to make their money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Don't use the same contractors that did it before. We ended up taking care of all the black tar that went across the bricks when they were doing the things because the contractor before was supposed to clean it and couldn't clean it, and then the city paid to have the bricks cleaned because that contractor did such a poor job. So I hate to see the city keep cleaning up the mess that the contractors are doing. They should have to clean up their mess. And if there's any way possible, get something that lasts longer than a year contract on something like this. If we have to put brick back down, you need more than a year in this guarantee to see how it's going to hold up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garris?
Pam Garris, Palatka. I don't know what criteria you use when you select these vendors to do work, the engineer, whoever is involved in a process. But I know about rubrics. Is anything like that used, a rubric where you rate them different criteria, you know, their past reputation, or however you vet them, in other words. We need a more conclusive vetting process, I think. And this should be because this is such important infrastructure. I beg to differ with Ms. Kitchens about the asphalt. I am against pouring more asphalt in this historic city. Somewhere I have an article that was published in the newspaper in Flagler County concerning a study done by Palm Coast, how much it costs to put down and maintain asphalt. The money in this city is the historic resources, okay? We need to enhance that with non-permeable bricks. If we can find them, they got to be making them somewhere to pave those intersections back. No, we don't want pavers, they're porous, but we don't want more asphalt. It's a money pit, okay? And water can't percolate down through asphalt. It can between bricks. And I would love to see all the asphalt in this city that could be scraped up, and there may be bricks under a lot of it still. It's traffic calming, like the mayor said, and it lasts longer, okay? Asphalt is a continual maintenance, and it's hot. It's even, I think it's hotter than bricks. But those are my thoughts on paving, and please rip up all the asphalt in this city.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment on this topic? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. How would we like to give staff? Go ahead.
If we were going to make a recommendation, I'll make the recommendation that we
Yes.
move forward with Phase 1, also taking into consideration what Commissioner Jones looking at alternatives with regards to a pond as a part of the recommendation that can come back to us.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Do we still have Commissioner Bourne? Okay, thank you. On to item B, discussion regarding potential city CRA historic asset and cultural facilities responsibility framework. Ms. Orr.
This item is also revisiting a conversation that we've had in a previous meeting. And so I wanted to get some clarification on how other municipalities handle the city-owned properties from a budgeting perspective, whose responsibility is what. And this way we can come up with a long-term planning consideration for budgeting as well as responsibilities for our city-owned properties. And just full disclosure, so I did a bunch of research, not just research, I also reached out to some folks who are very familiar with similar situations. I can tell you one of the gentlemen that I reached out to is a past president of the International Downtown Association and also the Florida Redevelopment Association. So he has a lot of knowledge in situations like this. The city currently owns 4 historic and cultural facilities located within the CRA districts that are operated by nonprofit organizations and under memorandums of understanding. The Bronson Mulholland House, the Tillman House, and the Larimar Arts Center. And then we also own the property around the Philip Randolph Regional Multimodal Transportation Hub. These facilities provide public benefits that support broader community and redevelopment objectives, including historic preservation, arts and cultural programming, tourism, educational opportunities, community engagement, and public events. These facilities, as future budgeting, capital planning, deferred maintenance, and responsibility improvements and redevelopment initiatives are considered, questions have arisen regarding the appropriate allocation of responsibility between the city and the CRA for items such as major capital improvements, deferred maintenance, ADA and code compliance improvements, and redevelopment-related enhancements and long-term facility planning. The facilities currently serve a variety of public purposes that support broader community and redevelopment objectives, including historic preservation, arts and cultural programming, tourism, educational opportunities, community engagement, and public events, and as future budgeting, capital planning, accessibility improvements, deferred maintenance, and redevelopment initiatives are considered, questions regarding the appropriate role of this CRA in participating in improvements associated with city-owned historic and cultural facilities located within the CRA districts have arisen. Staff research indicates that many Florida municipalities utilize formal agreement redevelopment plans, interlocal agreements, and funding frameworks to help define the relationship between the municipalities and their community redevelopment agencies. While no common model was identified specifically addressing city-owned historic facilities operated by nonprofit organizations within the CRA district, the concept of establishing a framework for evaluating funding participation, redevelopment benefit, and long-term planning appears consistent with governance practices utilized throughout Florida. The existence of a city ownership, maintenance, and regulatory obligations does not automatically preclude the CRA participation in a project. Historic and cultural facilities often function as redevelopment assets that support tourism, economic activity, placemaking, historic preservation, cultural programming, and public engagement within the redevelopment areas. And these are all things that fall under the CRA. As a result, projects involving these facilities may appropriately involve city funding, CRA funding, or a combination of both, depending upon the nature of the improvement, redevelopment benefits achieved, available funding sources, and consistency within the redevelopment plan. To assist with further future budgeting, capital planning, project evaluation, and grant opportunities, staff has prepared the attached City CRA Historic Asset and Cultural Facilities Responsibility Framework for your review. And the framework includes examples, project scenarios, and a funding participation matrix intended to illustrate how future projects may be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And I've attached, and I will tell you this was a little bit difficult because there's a lot of shared responsibility, a lot of overlap. So just trying to determine where it is prudent for CRA to participate or whether it's a city-only participation was a little bit challenging. But if you'll look at the example project matrix, evaluation matrix, I'm hoping that that will provide some context. The matrix provided is for discussion purposes only and is intended to illustrate how future projects may be evaluated. Actual funding participation would continue to be determined on a case-by-case based on redevelopment benefit, project scope, funding availability, and consistency with the redevelopment plan. Is there any questions?
Question. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Ms. Oth. First of all, I want to commend you for this detailed work and feedback and providing this information. For me, the framework was very informative, and I believe it is a good start from my perspective for us to move forward to developing an approach to what we'll put in our agreements with the nonprofits or organizations using the facilities. One of the things I was looking at and trying to think, what would this potentially open the door for? And what I want to make sure is we consider this, that we understand these buildings really fall into the arts and tourism and cultural events type category, because I was trying to think is what makes it separate that we're talking about from buildings where people potentially run businesses, I guess I would say. And I think of that in more of the economic development plan. So would that be a way to think of this when we're trying to segregate, having an approach for this versus others who may say, well, then I want in on that as well. Is what I'm saying make sense? I want to make
It
sure
does.
we're not
So
opening a can of worms, or I want to make sure we're able to define the differences between other city-owned buildings.
yes, so because this is a city-owned building, not privately owned, this would be, and because this does involve, to your point, tourism and cultural activation, so that is actually, they become, in that respect, because it is in the CRA, a shared asset. Because that is driving tourism, it is driving cultural arts. Also, when you have these venues that are open to the public, then that also lends to public safety because they're on a city-owned property that is involved with tourism and cultural activities. So that is why they are shared assets, and that's why there's a shared responsibility between the CRA as well as the city.
Thank you, that's very helpful. So to that point, I know one of the things you're looking for is to understand if your framework, I think, lends itself to us developing appropriate agreements, and I think it does, and good work. I just want to say that.
Mr. Deputy?
And thank you. I do believe that we do need this, but I do have some confusement for that. One, I believe that these buildings we're talking about the expenses should be borne by the city at large. And we are once again asking specific areas that are under redevelopment to put in an undue share. We're also going to be using county dollars for city buildings. And I don't know that the county is in on that. But at that point, would we not need an agreement? Because the courthouse would certainly, it's a 1911 building, and the gazebo needs $25,000. Would those not qualify under this plan because county dollars are in this fund and those are in the district? So are we opening another box that we haven't thought about? But we're also offering, and this is one of my biggest problems, we're offering to the city what we are not even considering for business buildings or homeowners. We said no roofs, we said no air conditioning, but yet for the city, we're offering that, and they're not paying any taxes. It's those of us on St. John's Avenue that are paying the tax, but we're not allowed to have the same things that the city is asking for. And I have a problem with the idea that the city is and I understand for the common good. So part of what I also think we need to do is reevaluate, the city needs to reevaluate these buildings. We own, as a city, a tremendous number of buildings. Are we doubling up? Do we need all of these buildings? Can we truly afford all of these buildings? Because now we're digging for money and we're coming to the CRA to fund them. And we're saying to the businesses, you can't have money for a roof, for an air conditioner, but the city can. So I'm not sure how I feel.
So, and if you look at the matrix, it clearly says the primary responsibility for things such as roof, HVAC, et cetera, are with the city, not with the CRA.
Primarily, and it says the word generally.
Well,
And that's where it also says,
And
Excuse
yet
me,
for the
Mr.
businesses,
Mr. Deputy, excuse me, I was
I'm sorry,
speaking.
yes.
And when we look at this, the whole intent of this matrix is that it's not a
Generally.
final product, it's a
Right.
work in progress. This was
Right.
just something drafted to get us started, but it clearly sets this expectation. As far as residential and private buildings, they have, up until recently, got money for roofs, HVAC. I wrote some of those programs a long
Right.
time ago. We changed that because of the essence of it, and I think that's what we're looking at now to move forward with city-owned buildings, is to focus on those things that are in the CRA plan in terms of using CRA funds to revitalize those buildings and preserve them historically. They are also economic drivers, and part of the CRA plan is to seek ways to drive the economy in a positive direction. I think we're looking at this more holistically, and I appreciate Ms. Orth going through all this research and work, but I think we're on different planes. I see it as partnership, and I see that we have to define it more clearly, but I think we can all benefit. As far as the gazebo, my understanding from the county is they're going to be restoring the gazebo shortly, just to alleviate your
Yeah,
concern.
and just to respond.
Well, but wait a minute, yeah, no,
I do understand,
But
we're
I
op-
didn't tell you you had the floor, so
Oh.
you don't understand.
Oh,
And
wait.
Mr. Alexander was
Okay.
before you. Commissioner Alexander.
Yes, ma'am, we are anticipating making some repairs at the gazebo to make it more presentable and something that we can use for our community. And I do have questions regarding using county funds on city buildings. So a percentage of the CRA funding is provided by the county, so I would like to look into that a little bit as well. I'm good for, I just want to understand the legality of that and see if that is in the definition of the CRA plan to extend CRA funding, which is joint funding, to properties that are singularly owned by the city.
Do you have any input, or do you want to wait to research this, Ms. West or Ms. Curry, before we go any further?
I want to make a comment if I might, and then the attorney will probably want to also make a comment. Just looking at the CRA in Gainesville, which is where I recently came from. Once the contributions come from the county and the city, they go into a fund. There is a plan that is agreed upon by the CRA board, which is, in this case, is an advisory board to the city commission. But it is that plan, regardless of whether it is a city or a county facility, that those funds can be used for. And so it's whatever is in the plan. And those funds are for facilities that are in either or, because you are all contributing to a CRA effort, if you will, or an initiative. So if we start trying to figure out this building in the county versus that building in the city, there's really no reason to have the CRA.
That being said, does the plan, as it is written, distinguish that what funds are going to what facilities? Because if it doesn't, then we're not adhering to the plan.
Go ahead.
I
doesn't
don't
define
know what's in the plan at this early stage, but.
Yes, ma'am, I
what-
know.
Yes.
I think we need some, Ms. West, do you have anything to offer on this?
Sure. So, first of all, the CRA plan is currently undergoing a revision that you'll be getting, I believe, next month, the draft version of. But I would like to reiterate that once the county makes its contribution, the obligation ends there. One of the reasons why you actually have a seat on this board is to have a voice on behalf of those funds, but really, it ends there. It is the CRA's fund, and it is exclusively within the city's legal purview to make a decision on how to spend those funds, so long as they are within the purview of the CRA plan. I will say, as to the courthouse specifically, there's nothing
That
that
prohibits.
prohibits the courthouse,
From
the
a-
county, from applying for one of the many grants that the CRA offers for improvements to that property.
But right now, there's currently no plan in place, or there is a
No,
plan in place?
there is a plan in place. The existing plan is in place. It's being revised because it's time to do so, but in the meantime, we continue to follow the existing plan until such time as the other plan's completed, vetted, and approved.
So does the existing plan define whether or not that you can use that?
The existing plan is a 30,000-foot view.
So it doesn't define
It doesn't go into
Okay.
detail of
It
which
does not.
buildings, but I will reiterate, there's nothing that precludes the county from applying for one of the many CRA grants available.
But that's the time, right now, if we apply those funds to a city-owned facility, we're not following the plan because it's not specific.
And
No,
that, well,
That is
the
not, that
current,
is not accurate.
One
if
at
I
a
may,
time.
the current plan, as it stands today, does have information about historic preservation of the historic building. So although it may not specifically say the Tillman House or the Bronson Mulholland House, they do fall under the historic properties because they do drive tourism and cultural arts and all of those things that are under the CRA.
Does it say public properties or private properties?
It doesn't specify,
It doesn't specify.
just like any other plan, comp, strategic, CRA, it's going to be a little more broader in general
Yes.
than that. If you start getting that specific, you really eliminate ability to really move forward. There's no, again, no point in it. If you look at any plan, even the county has plans. They have a comprehensive plan. I participated in the audience. If you look at that, it doesn't pinpoint to that degree. It's more general than that. It's a broad guideline.
And it's done that way intentionally because the plan that we're in the middle of drafting right now is a 10-year plan. You can't predict 10 years out, so you have to have some flexibility built within your plan because you can't predict the future. But you also don't want to box yourself into where you can't pursue things 5 or 6 years down the road that will contribute to economic growth or historic preservation because your plan is so granular that it doesn't allow that growth.
Well, I understand that, and I did leave my crystal ball at home, so I won't be able to predict the future, but I would like to have some pretty strong guardrails in place to know that we are spending the money, what we're spending it on, and what is allowable, other than a 30,000-foot version that we could possibly spend it on this or possibly spend it on that. I think that we need to have some guidance just based on this decision about whatever's popular by that board at that point in time.
And there is guidance. I think we also need to make sure everybody on this board has the plan. If it's on a thumb drive, I know it's on the city website, but perhaps we could get it copied onto a thumb drive for everybody on this board so they have it as a reference.
I'm sorry.
Go
I'm
ahead,
out of
Commissioner
order
Davis.
Because her hand was up.
Yes, I
way
know.
before mine, so I'm-
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
So I was going to recommend that we all, as members of this board, read the plan and understand it. I am confident to say that what we're trying to do is covered in the plan. The difference is, it's covered in the plan, but our responsibility is to ensure that the specifics that we're being presented with and considering are agreed upon based on the information that we're currently given at this point in time, if that makes sense. But yes, I'm confident in saying it's covered, to answer your initial question. Yes, based on my understanding of the comprehensive plan, of this plan, and of the CRA plan, and what we're considering today.
I have
Yes,
seen it.
I
I've
would
read
say
it
it's
many
covered.
times. Thank you. Did you have something else, Mr. Deputy?
I just, in bringing up my concerns, I'm concerned about opening the Pandora's box, that you can't close back with that. But I'm also concerned about treating the businesses and the homeowners who are paying the taxes to a much more restrictive use of the CRA funds than we are the city. And that's my concern, is that those are paying the taxes currently held to a more restrictive level than the city would be. And that's my concern.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Roth? And we need to
with the staff-
provide some direction. Go ahead, Ms. Curry. I'm sorry, did you want to say something? I'm so
I was
sorry.
going to comment about the plan which has to be implemented, and so there is a budget that obviously is also developed around that plan, and that budget is approved by the CRA board, and so that is the opportunity for you to really weigh in. The other thing that I would also, I'm not sure if it's a good suggestion or not, but because the county does put money into the fund for all of these projects, plans, budgets to go forward, maybe some opportunity for some joint conversation between the CRA board and the county commission so that, we're aligned. If you can.
Yeah, because, we all adhere to the same, we all want the same thing. We all want downtown Palatka to say, this is my district, this is my home, and most of the people here, it's their home too. So I just want to make sure we do it the right way. So don't ever take my tone as confrontational. It's just making sure that we do the best good job that we can for our citizens.
Absolutely, that's why we have these conversations.
Yes, ma'am, and sometimes they can get heated, but it doesn't change the way I feel about any of you guys. I just want to make sure we do it right.
So for the staff recommendation, you've had an opportunity to review the matrix. So I would just ask if the framework provides enough discussion and direction regarding the framework provides sufficient clarity for the future project evaluation and budgeting purposes, or whether staff should move forward with preparation of a draft interlocal agreement for future board and city commission consideration, or if we want to wait and have a meeting between the county and
what's the purview of the board, what would like to do? Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
My recommendation is that we accept the recommendation of the staff and move forward. The one thing I want, before I finish this, Mr. Deputy made a comment, and I want to get clarification on this. In the actual framework document, Mr. Deputy was referencing where it says potential city responsibilities, and remember, I want to say this was a framework.
Right.
And it says, as owner of the facilities, the city would generally retain responsibility for, which is what Mr. Deputy was focusing on. But when I looked at the example, I noticed that roof replacement, it says city participation primarily would be from, the primary person would be the city. The point I was trying to make, and make sure I'm understanding, in the framework document, that was a general statement with many things underneath it. The example matrix shows an example of who would be the primary responsible person. And I wanted to just say that and make sure, Mr. Deputy, we were on the same page.
And in response to that, it does, but then underneath that, it says potential CRA role. Yes, we can be involved in that roof replacement if it's historic preservation, public-facing restoration, redevelopment, or to support tourism. Once again, your other building people and homeowners aren't allowed. That's restrictive to them. And so once again, we're saying to everyone paying the taxes, you can't participate, but the city can, and they're not paying the taxes. And that's what I'm trying to say is we can keep this, but then we need to make the other grant opportunities as open as this is, so that in some ways, so that businesses can participate. We keep constricting the businesses. You know, we're not doing the roofs, we're not doing HVAC, you know, we're doing facades. We're restricting it more and more, whereas we're opening this wide. That's all I'm saying.
And we also could tighten up this.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
so on the other side of the
saying.
coin, so that it's fair to
Correct.
all. Go
So,
ahead,
Mayor,
Commissioner
that's
Davis.
why I wanted to bring it up before I made my motion. Because I want to make sure we're clearly going into this. So when I'm saying my recommendation, before I say I move, to make sure I'm correct in this, is to accept the recommendation of staff, which is to use this framework to draft the, give me the right word, here, let me go back to here. Yes, to draft an interlocal agreement for future board and commission considerations. So she's going to take this and draft. We still have to review that and approve it. And I think we have the opportunity to tighten it up there. I really want to make a motion that that staff leaves here with clear direction to move forward, because we have the opportunity to tighten up the agreement.
That's a lot on the table. Could we clear it up?
So
Yeah, there's
I
a
move,
lot.
I want to move,
I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
To accept the recommendation of staff. So let me stop there.
Okay,
Is there opportunity for discussion?
yes, absolutely. She didn't make
Okay. No, I agree, and I like the fact of what Mr. Deputy brought forward as far as tightening this up, because we shouldn't have a different standard for city properties than we do for citizens' properties. So, and again, instead of opening that up, I think we should tighten this and define that more. But I agree with you, this is a great framework and a great place to start, and as it's titled at the top, discussion draft. So my question is, when we move forward with this, say we make a motion to accept the discussion draft, will Ms. Oth contact each one of us for input regarding the restructure of this, or is this something we're going to have to bring forward again, or do you think, I think it would be better for her to contact us individually and bring back a compilation of what, or do we want to sit here and go through?
That would
each
be
item?
somewhat like polling, yeah, so I think it'd be best if she brought it back to all of us once she has a tighter document.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. So she understands the intent of the board to tighten it up, based on our conversation? Is that what we're doing?
We're doing that now, and I think the conversation is basically, one minute, that we will, before we take a vote, we can make motion, but before we take a vote, we have people here for public comment as well, excuse me.
Okay.
So,
We're on the same page.
okay, are we all set with, right now at this moment? And then we'll, after public comment, develop that motion. Okay, thank you. Ms. Kitchens?
Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida, and I'd like to point out that the A. Philip Randolph Transportation Hub, the Bronson House, the Tillman House, and the Larimer Arts Center have all been the recipients of numerous grants over the years for restoration, repair, et cetera. So they have gotten grants in the past. I would also point out that the Tillman House is incorrectly shown on the staff report as being leased by the Putnam Arts Council. There is no such thing as the Putnam Arts Council anywhere in Putnam County. That is the Palatka Art League Incorporated, not the Putnam Arts Council, so that needs to be corrected. And then I would request this. I'm fine with everything everybody said. I think you need to pursue it a little bit further. But I remember with the splash pad issue, then CRA director or whoever it was talked to the cities that had splash pads. They didn't talk to the ones that got rid of the splash pads and had problems. So the information they gave to the city and the CRA was all roses and champagne. They didn't get the downside. What I would like to see come back when the plan comes back to detailed information. Yes, she's got information from the cities that have done this. Oh, that's all hunky-dory, kumbaya, hold your hand and smile. What about the cities that haven't done it? Have any cities done it and had to not do it? Find out what the cons are in addition to the pros. Don't just give one side to the CRA or the city commission. So I would request that information come back. Talk to the cities that thought about it and didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? And then I do have a question, but you all can't answer it because it has to do with the legislature. I understand the Florida legislature is looking at getting rid of all CRAs. Where does that leave you all? And I know you can't answer that because it's the legislature, but that came to my mind. I thought, this is weird. But, and again, what Mr. Deputy said, if you do that just for city-owned buildings, you created a special class of citizen, even though it is a city entity, and that's not legal at all. You have to give everybody equal opportunity, and I'm pretty sure about that. So give the regular business owners, let them do roofs and HC, everything that the city can do on their buildings. The only other thing, I will close with this, I am concerned that if you all do this, on the surface it looks wonderful. But once it's all said and done and all the fine print's done and all the little footnotes and everything, are you going to come back to the Putnam County Historical Society and the Art League and the River City Repertory and you're going to say, well, the city's put in $150,000, we need $150,000 from you for your match? As a member of the Putnam County Historical Society and a past and perhaps future member of the Art League, I'm very concerned that these entities renting these buildings are going to be somehow or the other, and bottom line, be held liable for something. So I'm concerned about that, but I would like for y'all to do more research and table this, but if you're going to vote on it, you will talk about it when it comes back. But I think there needs to be more research done, more in-depth research, talk about it more, talk to cities that have done it and haven't done it, get both sides. But all in all, it sounds good on the surface, but a lot of things look good on the surface that are rotten underneath. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duke?
Vicki Duke, Palatka, Florida. This kitchen's covered most of that. The error in the report that it's the Palatka Art League that actually pays rent for the Tillman House. And I do have the same concerns that she has as to if it goes down, if it becomes a percentage of, even though that building belongs to the city, and there's a repair, that the club itself or our league is going to be responsible for paying for improvements to the structure of a building that we're renting that belongs to the city. That does concern.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment on this topic? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Ready to give direction. And for the record, that you are a tenant. It is our building. I don't think we're going to hold you, although Ms. West may give us, a different thought as far as responsible for co-paying those repairs. Go ahead, Ms. West.
It's not in any of the MOUs that are
Lease
adopted
agreements.
for any of those
Okay.
entities.
Thank you. Okay, here we are. What direction do we want to give to staff?
Let me go back.
to the report. Because I think I'm hearing something different from, when I read the staff recommendation, they are looking to move forward with preparation of a draft interlocal agreement for future review.
Between the city and
Correct,
CRA.
correct,
Yes.
correct. But what I'm hearing is updates to the framework. So I want to make the motion properly, because that's not what I was saying initially until I heard other. So are we saying update the framework to include the discussion here?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my interpretation.
So I move that staff updates the framework based on the feedback given in this meeting and use that to draft an interlocal agreement for discussion at a future CRA meeting, at the next CRA meeting. Is that when we're looking for this? Okay, yes.
I'll second that.
That doesn't, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the final draft, it'll be the next version of the draft.
Correct.
as a living document
Correct.
to
We will
be
still be voting on it
Correct.
in the future.
If they can, then we can push it back to make other adjustments as.
Correct.
Before we vote. Yes, correct.
Correct.
Yeah, that was it, for review.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. On to item C, discussion direction, Bronson Mulholland House porch handrail consideration of public safety and historic preservation alternatives. Ms. Roth.
As you know, this was an item at the last CRA board meeting. The board asked us to table this conversation so we could provide some additional information regarding the Florida statutes. I did do that. I sent that out in an email, and I just wanted to follow up so we can close this item. So the Bronson Mulholland House is a city-owned historic structure located within the North Historic District and listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The facility is utilized for public tours, educational programs, community events, and other public activities. As a previous CRA board meeting, or at the previous CRA board meeting, the discussion of the installation of porch handrails was tabled to allow additional time for review and applicable building code requirements, historic preservation considerations, accessibility obligations, and municipal responsibilities associated with the use of publicly accessible facilities. Since that time, staff provided the board and city commission with additional information regarding the building code requirements, historic considerations, and municipal liability responsibilities to public safety. The discussion has highlighted the need to balance preservation of the historic character of the structure with the city's responsibility to reasonably address known safety concerns associated with public access and occupancy. The primary issue before the board is not whether historic preservation is important, but rather how to appropriately balance the historic preservation objectives with the city's obligation to protect public health, safety, and welfare within a publicly accessible municipal facility. As previously presented, portions of the porch exceed elevation thresholds identified within the Florida Building Code that typically require guard protection on open-sided walking surfaces. While historic structures may qualify for certain alternative compliance approaches, historic designation alone does not automatically exempt a facility from life safety considerations. The city remains responsible for the administration and enforcement of applicable building and safety requirements and for reasonably addressing known hazards on publicly accessible property. Conversely, concerns have been raised regarding the visual impact that permanent porch handrails may have on the historic character and appearance of the structure. And staff recognizes these concerns and acknowledges the importance of preserving the historic integrity of one of the city's most significant historical assets. In an effort to accommodate both objectives, a potential compromise has been discussed that would allow for the installation of the handrails utilizing a removable or temporary mounting system. And I want to go back to to the previous discussion, one of the CRA board members requested considerations of alternatives to traditional railings that would better preserve the historic character of the building, that included options that would utilize temporary event barriers or incorporate historically sensitive designs. And we've come up with a solution that does both. And there's a photo that is included in your packet of the handrails that the contractor constructed. And if you look at these handrails, they look identical to the handrails that are on the second level of the Bronson House. And then the idea is to have a mechanism put in place so that when there is an event, the handrails can be put up to protect the public, and when there's not an event, the handrails can be taken down. So there's a compromise there that facilitates both sides. Staff recommends that the CRA board discuss the information presented and provide direction regarding the preferred approach for addressing porch safety concerns at the Bronson-Mulholland House, including consideration of the removable handrail system or other alternatives that appropriately balance the historic preservation objective and the public safety responsibilities associated with the continued public use of the facility. This recommendation does not seek to diminish the historic character of the structure, but rather to identify a practical and defensible solution that supports both the preservation of the historic asset and protection of the public.
Thank you, Ms. Oth. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Oth?
Not of Miss Oth, but maybe of Miss West.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
So, when say, hypothetically speaking, we have a function going on there, and someone is injured from a fall, is not only the city liable, the historical society liable, and also whoever the person that holds the event liable in that instance, if we had knew there was an existing problem and did not address that?
Sure, any reasonable lawyer is going to sue everyone.
Everybody that's in any way, shape, or form
That's right.
associated with it. So-
Throw all the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks.
Yes, I want to make sure that people understand part of the reasoning behind this. I'm not a fan of permanently installing anything, but I also come from the professional background I have and the litigation that I've been exposed to. We have a duty to protect our citizens and our historical societies and our historical homes from that litigation. But we also want to maintain the historic presence of that facility that did not have that railing. And I think that that is a good compromise, that if they can be removed during actual historic presentations, that it provides us some level of protection. Because it doesn't take but one attorney to come in there with a decent lawsuit to wipe out the historical society, and actually put a lien on this house for potentially.
Correct, and I will add, because of the public nature of these meetings where it has now been discussed multiple times, we definitely have actual notice of this, this risk, and so that increases our liability.
So it's not just an effort to protect us, but it's also an effort to protect those people that love this building. So, but the fact that you can remove them and the simplistic nature of this, it also mimics the structure of the existing railing on the second floor. So I recognize the benefit. I assume we're building this out of powder coated aluminum, so it will withstand the nature.
Oh, come on up, David. That would change the historic integrity of the building when they were up, but go ahead.
These railings are the exact same as the second floor railings, sizes, dimensions, and everything. What will be done will be a trough put on each column on both sides, top layer and bottom, top rail and bottom rail, where they slide in. They'll be numbered or matched to each one in per.
But they're wood.
They would.
Yes, sir. They're pressure treated wood that's been painted.
Hold on.
No problem.
So What's the weight on each one of those?
I do not know that
It's
answer.
going to be
I do
100
know-
pounds or better, and wood is not going to withstand being removed in and out frequently when you have a complex structure like that.
Agree completely. Yeah, there will be, this is going to be engineered. I've already talked with the guys that have done this. They are going to be doing a lot more rigid per se, but it will be a two-person job to remove these railings on both sides.
But wood's never going to be robust enough to be that
I
framework.
agree completely.
But we can duplicate that out of aluminum that will match that structurally and visibly. But it will provide a lighter product that can be handled safely by one person, and it will be impervious to the elements.
I don't know if it would still be able to be handled safely by one person because those are pretty large spans.
So it's definitely not going to be handled by one person if it's wood.
No, not at all.
No.
And then it's going to be terribly, if you miss a step with a heavy wooden piece like that, somebody risks potential damage or injury carrying that, but you could mitigate that by building it out of aluminum.
I agree completely. There will also, if we do go down the road, there will be that will be a lot of money to get all those railings fabricated for all that and powder coated.
And from the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for historic restoration, that aluminum wouldn't really cut it in terms of the historic preservation. You're altering the appearance, even though I know, people will know it's aluminum. You really can't do that without causing more problems from the historic integrity perspective.
You don't think that they can duplicate?
I think they can duplicate it. The point is that you're supposed to use like materials, and that is not a like material as compared to the railing on the second level. Of course, you can duplicate anything, pretty much. I don't know if Commissioner's finished. 1 minute.
I question building them out of wood because they won't last 6 months to a year.
They're going to be stored, well, let's have a little more information, David, I'm sorry. Where will they be stored when not used, that we haven't figured out yet?
That is up to the discretion of whoever tells us what to do.
Okay.
We've been tasked with coming up with the idea to make them removable. Originally, they were going to be stationary, and due to the fact that we even had pictures of them being on that structure at one point in time, might not have been originally, but there was railings on there at one time. They were, those are the pictures.
It was in the 50s, it was in the 60s when it was a boarding home, I believe. But it was not original to the structure, nor has it been on there for some time. So I think that even for me, that was an issue or concern. I think this was a compromise that seemed fair. Yes, they'll be heavy. I think we're going to need Public Works help when the time comes to put them in place if there is an event. I don't think we expect the members of the Historical Society to do that.
And I've already addressed that conversation with the Public Works Director of if we need that, he will be more than happy to have two people, which I've already told him. When this first came out, I said, you're going to need two people. You don't want one person, but to have two people present to do this. And he had no problem with that.
And at this point, this is what we have, Commissioner Alexander, whether we have to do something differently in the future.
These railings aren't historically accurate anyhow. So why do we have to build them to historic accuracy and not build them to something that's a more robust standard, so we only have to do it one time and they're going to be resilient? Because what kind of wood are we building this out of? Are we building out of pine?
You said pressure wood.
Pressure-treated wood?
Yes, sir.
Like yellow wood coming from Home Depot? Are we doing arsenic-treated, saltwater-treated wood that you use on the
So you're saying basically like marine grade pressure treat per se. From my knowledge, this is ground rated pressure treated wood.
Yeah. Okay.
These railings have already been built again.
Right.
This was done, and then after the direction, we tabled it because we were told not to install them. So we have these here, and I have worked with them to, be on our side with this.
So you already built all these railings?
The contractor had already built all these railings at the direction of the city before we had this conversation last place to do so. We've already done this. We were told.
Who authorized you to spend the money to build these?
We discussed it as part of the project, so whenever the renovations were complete, the contractor pointed out to us the difference in the elevation and that we needed to put some handrails up to protect the public. So we had the funds in the budget. We went ahead and moved forward with doing that. We presented it to the board, and then that's when the conversation came up as to the fact that folks didn't want it up there because it wasn't part of the original structure. And so we tabled the conversation.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr.
And I
Deputy,
don't-
Mr. Deputy, go ahead. You have
Thank
the
you.
floor.
And I don't really understand that, so that must have been prior to my coming on in January. And I get, us newbies get confused because it came up at the board, but it has never come up to approve the change of look of the Bronson House. But see, that's not what I'm questioning are several things. One, if doing this, it's on the National Register. You can't change the National Register look on the outside of a building. So we're changing the look of a building. What does that do to our National Register standing? That's one. Two, this issue really isn't, we don't own the building as a CRA, the city does. You're just asking us to pay the bill. All of these other details belong to the city commission, where you're storing it. Are you charging the group to put the banisters up for an event? Will those banisters have to come up when I do a bus tour for American Cruise Line? I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot more to this than we're thinking. Public Works could be hauling these back and forth because there's no place to store them at the house. You can't build a shed with the National Register because that wouldn't be appropriate. You're going to store them under the porch? I think some of these questions, they're not ours because we don't own it. The city owns it. We're the CRA. You're just asking us for the funds, but kind of after the fact, because we never approved the design of these or how this would work in the first place. You just asked us at the last meeting to approve the 7,500. And so I'm getting a little confused as to, do I own the building? No, I'm not on the city commission. The city owns the building. That falls under the city commission. But I don't think we've looked into the National Historic Register to see if we're meeting the standards.
I did.
Okay, so we can put these up without being taken off the list because it does change the appearance of the original house.
When it comes to public safety, being registered does not mean that you cannot protect the safety of the public. So because this exceeds the 30-inch elevation from the ground, we can put them up.
Okay, the city can put these up.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis?
So I just want to talk about what I understood, because I hear we're going back and forth from what happened at the last meeting. As part of the full renovation project at the Bronson Mulholland House, working with the person who was doing the renovation, they were following a rule that exists today because of just the height. And those were built as part of that project. It was my understanding, but where the question came in is when there was some conflict with putting them up as a permanent part. And that's the discussion we had, where there was some pushback on installing them as part of the existing project. And that's what led to where we are today. That's why those wooden rails exist. I do want to say, I do remember, but I think that got lost in our last meeting when we were looking at alternatives and trying to say that, no, we would not approve the $7,500 for them to be installed, That was my understanding. So I do want to clear that up and say that I don't think staff went and created something after our last CRA meeting. That's my understanding.
I agree. And as far as
Okay,
National Register, every time a property owner comes before the Historic Preservation Board, and oftentimes it's to alter something that's in place, it's an honorary designation. They don't come back and chase you down unless you move the structure. That would be the one prompt. Or even you can even demolition a building, as much as it pains me to say that, a historic structure, you would have to go before the Historic Preservation Board, and you'd have to get your permit, but in the end, that can happen as well. It just is, again, mainly honorary, doesn't offer a lot of protection, to be accurate, and you can put outbuildings up, structures.
Good, that doesn't change it.
I'm not saying we're doing that, but I'm just saying it can be done.
Because the storage, may I?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm still confused, if I may. Was the Bronson Mulholland House a CRA project? Has the porch project that's been going on for 4 or 5 years, was that a CRA project paid for by the CRA?
It has been a shared project. The bulk of it was paid by the city. The handrails and the bottom, that was CRA. That was a CRA portion because of the public safety in relation to tourism.
So the previous CRAs have approved this?
No, this came this year. We did
Okay,
that
I
part
have
this
not
year.
voted on any project for the CRA this year since I've been on the board.
And it's for these railings specifically.
Right.
The rest of the project was covered by the grant, the
Correct.
city, the grant with the city match.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get is clarification as to why this is before us, when it wasn't our project and we have not okayed it, we didn't approve it. How come it's ended up at our doorstep is what I'm trying to get to.
Because when we presented this information, there was pushback and we were asked to table it for additional.
Why did it come to us in the first place when it wasn't our project, is what I'm saying? Well, when did we approve that?
Go ahead,
Mayor,
Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
We are.
And let me tell you why I think we are, is because one thing I want to clarify.
My fault.
We all came onto this board at different points, but the board is the board. The board members are different. And I think what I hear you asking, Mr. Deputy, is did the board approve it before you were a board member?
That's what I asked.
Yes, that answer would be yes.
Great, that's,
Secondly, one thing I want to level set, and I would like for all of us to agree on, is other than a point of reference that has not been explained, that we know we came on at different points, and we all have different points of reference. When the board has approved a project, in this case, to answer your question, the CRA board approved the porch project
Correct.
before you got here. As part of that project, the,
Handrails.
who is it? Who did the work? Whatever, the
W.
That was ESX.
Oh, yes.
ESX identified a law for public safety that says if a porch exceeds 30 feet or something to that point, don't quote me on the law, that handrails are necessary for a porch. As part of that project, those handrails were created
Correct.
per the contractor, per the law as he knew it. The question came to this board again because it required an additional $7,500 for that which was not necessarily in scope when we went out to bid.
Correct, not in the original.
Because I don't know that we measured and knew what the rule was. And so that's why it came back, because the additional $7,500. So I just want us to all level set because people are new at different points. I'm not trying to make a point. I just want to state historical pieces.
And-
And I hope that
Yes.
helps, and I'm going to yield back because I'll raise my hand later for my comments.
Commissioner Alexander.
So there was an additional $7,500 expense for the raise.
Yes.
Yes.
Was that brought before the board and approved?
No.
No.
So I understand you explained that, but if we're gonna spend money, shouldn't it?
It was-
I mean, we have a budget.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
It
1
was
minute,
brought
are you
before
finished?
the board, which triggered where we are.
Excuse me, before any money is spent without the
We did-
approval of the board, it should be approved. Those handrails were built without approval of the funding.
That is
He's right.
correct.
Those rails were built without our
One,
approval.
stop. Point of order. You finished, Mr. Alexander?
Yep, so that is my question. Who's spending money without, CRA's money without the CRA's approval?
We discussed it internally and I did get approval because
From
of
who?
the,
From who?
1 minute, don't be so confrontative. Let her answer,
But I'm just
please.
asking.
Okay, but let her answer, please.
so it was because of the public safety issue. We had a conversation internally. I did bring it before Chief Shaw, and our finance director, and we did discuss it, and it was approved during that conversation.
Which, again, Chief Shaw was the acting city manager and can approve funding
Yes.
up to 25,000.
Okay.
But can he approve?
He
One
can
minute,
approve city
please.
funding, but not CRA funding.
Yes, he can, because the CRA makes recommendations. Ultimately, the commission has to approve the funding anyway.
Did they approve it?
Again, the acting...
Can I call for a point of
The
order,
acting-
Mayor? May I call for a point of order,
Yes,
please?
and
May I please call for a point of order? Because we're trying to have board training in a board meeting.
I don't know what else to say.
This is off the rails. Okay, so let's just go. So again, the ultimate approval comes from the city commission. A recommendation from the CRA board goes to the commission, who makes the ultimate approval. In absence of that, the acting city manager or the city manager can approve an expense for up to 25,000. Okay, so that is true. Okay, Mr. Deputy, are you set? Or do you want to say
I
something?
just want to say, I'm not sure that the city manager, I'm not sure that that's in the rules, that the city manager can appropriate money from the CRA, because we are, if I'm correct, we are a standalone. I don't know, are we not?
No.
I'm going to defer to Ms. West, please.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and actually, the way it works is it goes through the city manager. So,
Yes.
would you like to speak
Go
to
ahead.
this?
Well, I mean, the CRA is a department that is run under the auspices of the city manager. It is not a standalone.
It is not a standalone.
It makes recommendations.
I'm just, if I make clarification, I served on the CRA in the O's, and I went to a tremendous amount of training. So that would be training that that has changed since the 06s and 7s and 8s.
2,000, he's talking about the years. Zeros, he's talking about the zeros.
Because I was under the understanding that this board stands alone, that it is charged with a duty and a responsibility. I didn't know the city could come in and take CRA money without our approval, but now I'm being corrected.
Ms. West may want to elaborate or even correct, but I thought this was a board that advises. I did not. Makes recommendations.
So it is a separate agency, okay? I will be clear on that. It is a separate agency. However, your votes here, for example, the motions that Commissioner Davis has made this evening, those are recommendations ultimately to the city commission. And then it goes to the city commission to make those fiscal decisions for the CRA, which falls under the city's purview and jurisdiction.
Does that de facto mean that the city can take money from the CRA without our approval?
You would need to make that recommendation to the city commission.
Okay, but in this case, we had not.
That's right, because
I'm just
of,
making sure.
Well, let her
me
finish,
provide
please.
some clarification, because our purchasing policy still dictates the procedure here, and that purchasing policy allows for the city manager to authorize expenditures up to $25,000 without seeking city commission approval.
And just to say, we have an expert in the audience who could clear this up for us.
No, we're set, thank you. That was the attorney's view. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. We do have public comment here, so we have folks that have cards for public comment. Ms. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am. Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida. First of all, much to my horror, on Saturday when I went down to the Bronson House and finally got to the upstairs porch, those rails are not historically accurate. They're not even artistically accurate. They are rectangles. The original rails on that house, you can still see on the gazebo unless they run out and take them out before y'all get a chance to look at them. They are square. They have replaced the upstairs banisters at a higher height than the original one for safety. And they have now put rectangle squares instead of square squares. That ruins it. And now they're advocating to put the same unhistorical, unartistic banisters downstairs. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper, and I use that pun on purpose. We went out Saturday, Nicole, Grace, and I, and we measured the porch. The west side toward the west part of Palatka, the front side, all those are under, the highest point was at 28 inches. They're all like 24 inches. We went around to the west side, and guess what, folks? One 33-inch spot, and what you know what we found? The contractor has gone out and dug down 6 inches or more. There's a drop like this. You can see where the ground has been dug out, causing water now to run under the house, which will undermine the piers. And now if you measure from the side of the porch down to the bottom of the little gully they dug, yeah, it's 33 inches. If they put the fill back in, it won't be 33 inches. It'll be under 30, and they will not be in violation of the safety code. The same contractor who did 27 boo-boos on that house when they did the work, and I went out and looked, they half did a couple of them. I'll give 2 points. They dripped 4 spots of green paint on the white riser on the steps, on the front steps. I pointed that out. Great, they went out and got 2 spots away. The 2 on the right-hand side are still there. They corrected the shutter the shutter slat that was missing. Great. They took a shutter slat off the side shutter and put it over there. This same bunch that has done this shabby work, I know how to paint a house. My dad was a painter. I would not have this done in my house, and yet you all have paid a grant, had this done, and the same person that did this crappy work has built banisters and wants to put them up for an additional $7,500. You've already paid him through the butt. Now he wants more money to do more horrible work. Like Commissioner Borum suggested at the previous meeting, he said put limestone, put fill around the porch. I would suggest limestone covered with maybe dirt, but replace the sod that was dug out on the east side of the house, and then the porch will not be 30 inches high. They raised the porch and then they dug down. You can see it very clearly where it's dug down. Erosion is a slope. This is like a cliff. It goes and it drops down 4 to 6 inches, and then it's dug out. And somebody witnessed them digging it out and hauling it away in a wheelbarrow. So he has created the problem, and then here's the icing on this crap cake, folks. This is in the North Historic District. They put the new banisters up. They did not get the Historic Preservation Board's permission to do any of the work they've done when they changed the character of the banisters. And now, without your permission, they built new banisters, which also don't fit. There's no CO from the Historic Preservation Board. Regular people have to go to the Historic Preservation Board and get their permission. The city did not. The contractor did not. You have violated your own rule. This needs to be fixed. It needs to be corrected. And no banisters. And one final thing. I know my time is up. Children now play on we have a wheelchair ramp with banisters. The children play on those banisters all the time. Children love to play on banisters. And in 172 years of that house being in existence, nobody has fallen off the porch, including during the Civil War. No banisters.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
And correct
Kitchens.
the problem that the contractor made.
Ms. Kitchens, okay, thank you. Ms. Duke?
Vicki Duke, Palatka, Florida. My concerns rest on the same things that Ms. Kitchens is saying. My concern was the fact of not going through the historical board to talk about this and other options. My concern also is these temporary things. That does sound like an approach to this, but does that mean every time they're open to the public, they're going to have to put those up, then take them down? If it's rented, I don't even know if they still rent it for weddings and things, but if they do, then every time they're going to have to put them up and take them down and store them and touch them up because they're damaged. That concerns me. It sounds like to me other historical homes that I've been to where they needed to restrict people from coming to the edge of something like a porch, they used velvet ropes and those brass things that they roll out and roll back against the wall or roll inside. So with one of those little signs that says, no further from this point or whatever, at least it would blend with the house and not look like a permanent structure that wasn't meant to be there. That does concern me, and it does sound like that there was other options as far as putting in fill and all that and not doing this. The labor for putting up the the temporary things and taking them down, and the fact that they don't match what the original structure had been, even on the upper porch. The fact that the contractor got away with that concerns me. But mainly, the historical board would need to talk to it. And I don't know whether in a personal home, when you come before in these two historical districts, if I came to them and said, I want to put a porch rail up, this is what I want to put up, would they let me? I don't know. Maybe not. They can be very particular about altering that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I don't know the measurement on the Tillman house. We're probably not 30 inches up, but you know, we don't have a rail, never have had a rail on our front porch.
Thank you. Ms. Garris?
Pam Garris, Palatka. Again, the cart got before the horse. The Preservation Board was not consulted. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If you're worried about people falling off the porch, how are you going to control the people that walk up there after hours and get on the porch and fall off? Are you going to put a fence around it? That comes to my mind, that it's such a, valuable resource, and it has this danger of this porch with the railing not there, that people can go there after hours, nobody's attending the building, and get up there and fall off. Can they sue us when they're off after hours? Yeah. So you really need to appropriate funds to put a 6 or 8 foot metal black fence or something like that around it that looks historically correct. If you're worried about liability. And I think funds need to be appropriated. I live right behind it. I can see it out my kitchen window. Funds need to be appropriated to clean up the landscape. You spend all this money on a beautiful house. The yard looks like the devil. And you need to have a program and a funding in the city where you trim palm trees. I lived in Sarasota for 22 years. People in South Florida know you trim palm trees in July after they bloom, and then when the hurricane comes, you don't have to pick up all that mess. You have a lot less mess. And palm trees, they harbor rats and roaches. They are not the best things to plant. So I'm glad I heard they're not planting any down St. John's Avenue again. But there needs to be, the devil is in the details. This city is a beautiful place if we would clean up the landscape. And I'm going to say it right now, and somebody should call the Public Works and put in a work order. Those plantings, which I found out from somebody who would know, on the Angel side of Reed Street at 3rd, are scary. Some of that needs to be pulled up. There's ligustrum that are just loaded with ball moss. They are stunted. Some of that can be saved, and then the palm trees are horrible. And it's a main entrance to downtown with that, I understand, $25,000 brick post that says downtown. I wouldn't want to go in a city's downtown that looked like that. The landscape looked that bad. We got a lot of details to work on here, but that fence, you're talking about the porch, you need a fence around it if you're that worried about liability.
Thank you. Ms. Roundabout?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Chris Roundsavall. I've lived in this place since 1972. My grandparents came here in 1929. I've lived in Satsuma since 2006. I docent at the Bronson Mulholland House faithfully every Saturday. I have tourists that come in all the time. I see kids jumping on those railings that Allegra was talking about. I also was there when they measured the porch. The front porch is 30 or less inches. The side porch is more, way like 36. But the land slopes down like this, and the water is going down underneath the house. And it could be fixed. You level grade that back, make it flat, put some limestone in there. You've got 30 inches. You don't have to meet that requirement for the railing. If you put that railing up there now, you will lose the historical of that place. You won't get it anymore. You make money off of these tours. You're not going to get that money because you will lose the historical place of this place. I love that house, but you'll destroy it if you put those railings on the bottom porch. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Sally Baston?
Hi, I'm Sally Baston. First, I would like to read an email I got from Nicole Grace, who is the president of the Historical Society. Good evening. Safety is important. We all agree on that. I believe our staff works diligently to serve our city and residents in that respect. The question here is, does the historic structure of the Bronson Mulholland House porch create an extraordinary safety risk which requires significant additions to the historic house? Even if it does not, we can still look at solutions and improvement safety while protecting its historic character. As the email from Robert Taylor documents, the porch was within height thresholds prior to the project. At present, the highest point is 33 inches above grade on the east side in the back. It needs to be within 30 inches. A grading improvement would resolve this difference without changing the historic appearance of the house. If this is part of the contractor corrections, this would cost zero to the city. Hey, throwing down some sand would also work. This will eliminate additional ongoing maintenance for a banister, which I might add kids will turn into a monkey bars. Fixed or removable, I think we all agree the city has enough work to keep it busy. Our goal should be to keep the site safe while preserving the features that make the Bronson Mulholland House an important historic landmark, plus save $16,000 we need for Palatka. Note, if this is not included in the contract, can we work together and consider lime rock? It's $76.97 per cubic yard at Home Depot. Around the base of the building, that would reduce vegetation at the base of the structure, help with drainage, and reduce spaces for critters to hide. Respectfully, Nicole Grace. Now, for myself, I moved here 40 years ago, and I have been docenting at the Bronson Mulholland House for several years, and I think every time you change something about the house, you chip away at the historic value of it. Pretty soon, it's not going to have any value historically. And the people that come to see it because it's historic and it's beautiful. And if you just keep chipping away at its value, it's not going to be worth anything historically. And the upstairs railings are ugly because they're not historically accurate. Nobody goes up on the top railing anyway. We don't allow people out there. And nobody's going to fall off like Allegra says, no one has fallen off that porch in 172 years.
Thank you. Ms. Dietrich?
Good evening. I didn't want to get up here and cause trouble, but I couldn't sit any longer. I hate to tell you this, but as your original author of all your CRA plans, with the exception of the update that was minor in 2017, the Mulholland House has never been in the CRA, ever. It is not in the North Historic CRA District. Is it important historically to the society? Sure. Is it important to the city? Absolutely. It can be a CIP allocation from your general fund, but it is not eligible for CRA funds because it is not in your CRA district.
Thank you.
And I have the map if you want to see it.
Thank you, Ms. Dietrich. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Go ahead, Commissioner Alexander.
Ms. West, if we brought the surrounding ground to the point that it was less than 30 inches of a fall, would that limit our liability?
Yes.
Can I make a motion that we bring the surrounding ground up to less than 30 inches and be done with this?
Can I
That's a
say
motion.
something?
Commissioner Bourne
I'm
Commi-
sorry,
oh, sorry.
Mr. Moore.
Commissioner Borum, go ahead.
No, that's Commissioner Campbell said that I was silent.
That was me. Based on what was just stated in the last public comment, this conversation to me is null and void if it's not, we can't make a recommendation.
I heard him, and basically, if it's not within the CRA
Not in the
district,
CRA, we don't have any
yeah,
power.
we don't have the authority.
Yep, so now it goes back to the city.
Yes.
Yep, so the motion is null and void, so. I withdraw it. And then it falls back on the city.
I would ask if Mr. Agama, if that's okay, Mr. Agama come up, because I believe they did apply for, the city did apply for a COA for this work. Is that correct? Just for clarification of facts.
We have an existing COA that was approved by the Historic Preservation Board last year. Any work that is to be done that you approve or the city commission approve to that COA will have to go back to the Historic Preservation Board. They will have to issue another certificate of appropriateness.
So the railings weren't brought before the Historic Preservation Board?
It was never in front of them, no.
So at this point, and I was pulling up the map to make sure, did you have something to say, Mr. Deputy?
So I'm trying to clarify in my head again. So it's my understanding, and I thought I was on that trail, we've already paid as a CRA for some of the work on the porch when it wasn't in the district.
Yep.
So how, I mean, we've obviously.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, excuse me.
So just a little sidebar with the city attorney, and I think that there is an opinion that the house is not in the CRA,
That's what
and
Mr.
then there is
Rico.
an opinion that it is in the CRA. So that needs to be resolved, I think.
I agree.
Is the CRA defined by physical barriers?
By boundaries.
Yes. Madam Mayor, I suggest we table this so we
Okay.
get some clarification.
Do we have a motion to table?
I move the table until we get clarification
Second.
on the Bronson Mulholland's house's
Status with the CRA.
status with the CRA.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you.
I do have a question,
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
And I said it a couple of meetings ago. How do we get to making decisions, taking actions without complete information? And it keeps happening. Whether it's standard operating procedures, do we need to have someone do a complete revamp of standard operating procedures, what we need to do before we make allocations and things like that, whether it's the CRA or things for the city, because this could get us in a lot of trouble when we start talking about liability issues like now. And I really think that when we have attorney on council, that these things should be vetted, and we would know, and I applaud the attorney that's saying it right now, that she said that it is within the CRA district. Now, that's what we're going on, and I know that's what the interim city manager, Chief Shaw, actually acted on. However, if it's not accurate, we have a bigger problem, okay? We have a bigger problem, and we can't just keep ignoring mistake after mistake after mistake. I heard about the liability. The young lady just came back and said the condition that the porch was in. Ms. Kitchen had a valid and I think a cost-effective remedy The young lady, I'm sorry, ma'am, I know your name all the way in the back, that you just came up.
Miss
and
Dietrich.
Ms. Dietrich. She's doing a project for us, or have been, and she comes up and said, well, that property hadn't been in consideration because it's not a CRA property. Madam Mayor, I'm in agreement to tabling this, but I also want to make a recommendation that city manager and city attorney vet these actions before they come to us to make a decision on. Because ultimately, we whether it's the CRA board or the city commission, we get all the pushback and all the blame. And doing things, I would have liked to have that information prior to us getting this meeting, that we went ahead and made these railings, because we did put the cart before the horse. Whether it's in the CRA or not, it would be nice to know before getting up here, because it appears that half of us did not know that the railings already was built, and that's the plan. Because I would have said, no, I won't. So I just wanted to say that. And that's not pointing a finger at an individual. It almost goes back to the quality assurance that I was speaking on. When we do projects, make sure more eyes are on it, and that we tighten it up before we put it up. Tighten it up before we put it up. So that's what I want to say, and I want to make certain that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle of tabling it. These things know that accountability, and Madam Manager, the takeaway from this is somebody going to be held accountable for a job of correctiveness, quality, and the approval process going forward. We would like to make sure these measures are put in place.
Sure, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So this is no excuse. This is my third day. I do realize that the agenda process, as I've had some very preliminary conversations with the clerk, the agenda process does need to be revised. Items, the way I understand it right now, come from the department, they go to the clerk. There may be some review by the attorney before it even gets to the manager. That has been the process. Am I correct? The process is a little backwards, and so we do have to modify that because the accountability really lies with me. And I'm interim, and I want interim to continue to stick with my title. But I will say that the agenda process does need to be revised so that I can have a comfort level with what is in the agenda, and if it needs to have review prior to coming to the commission, it can either be modified or pulled from the agenda.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Alexander. 1 second. Okay, then 1 second. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me go real quick.
1 minute, Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. And this whole discussion we've had tonight, everything we've talked about, we haven't even defined whether or not it's in the CRA, and we've spent hours of my life that I'm never going to get back talking about a project that we don't even know if it's ours. Yeah, so, I mean, I thought that the CRA had physically defined boundaries with when it's within the properties that fell within that. So now we can't even agree whether it is or it isn't. So, and all of this discussion has been a waste of time, and a simple solution could have been taken care of by 2 loads of dirt. And I look forward to the experience that Ms. Curry brings to this process, and I'm very hopeful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Campbell? Commissioner Campbell?
Sorry, Justin.
You had your hands up. Go ahead.
No, I'll yield my back and speak directly with the city manager and legal with regards to my statement.
Okay, thank you.
He's going to yield to speak to the city.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on to D, Building Improvement Grant 2026 Application Cycle Update.
This is
just a quick update. The program application cycle closed out on June 15th. We had a total of 11 applicants, and scoring is scheduled to take place on July 22nd at 2 p.m. here in City Hall.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on Ms. Alt? Okay, thank you. On to reports. City manager verbal report. You don't have anything yet, I understand. Now on to B, Gateway Redevelopment Plan Presentation, Port Consolidated Redevelopment Site, a 15-minute presentation. Ms. Alt, you going to bring Ms. Dietrich up?
Yes. So for those who may not be familiar, the Gateway Redevelopment Plan is the old Port Consolidated, and this is the Florida Department of Commerce Community Planning Technical Assistance Grant provided us with Ms. Dietrich from HAF to engage the community, present an environmental remediation review, and market demographic analysis for land use and zoning evaluation. And all of that has been completed, and she's here to present you with her recommendations for the Port Consolidated.
Ms. Dietrich, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back. Haven't had the opportunity to meet Ms. Curry yet, but I look forward to setting a meeting with you, ma'am, and welcome to town. And I don't know if this is good.
I'm not sure. I have your,
She has it. Is it-
that way it's up top.
Yeah, I just can't see it because it's angled. I don't want to keep turning around. So to be respectful to the mayor and the commissioners, I'd like to go ahead and face them. So, hello, good evening, Laura Dietrich, HAF Associates 9995, Gate Parkway North, Jacksonville, Florida 32246. We are specifically talking about the CPTA grant, the Community Planning Technical Advisory Grant. So I guess as, would you like me to nod if you want to click?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right, so go ahead and click. I'll be quick and get through some of these first slides because you're familiar with the CPTA grant. I wrote the grant this last year that won this project. I performed the grant 2 years ago that led to this. So what's wonderful about grants is that you use them as seed money to continue to build upon efforts if the nut, if you will, if the funding source is not large enough to accomplish everything, which they never are. So 2 years ago, we did a CPTA that did your strategic 5-year plan. The top priority in that plan was to address this site. So this grant that was written last year by us is focusing only on what we call the Gateway Project site, formerly known as the Port Consolidated. So you are familiar with CPTA. Again, I don't want to repeat Nicole Oth. She already told you the 4 deliverables. This is capitalizing on that 4th. You all know where the Port Consolidated site is. It's at literally the base of the Memorial Bridge on the north side of Reed Street. The site was built in 1942. It has been updated since 1980. Other than that, it is not a historical structure by any aesthetic or architectural means, nor use or any kind of lineage. The site is comprised of 0.70 acres. It's 3 bifurcated parcels that do not total an acre, so it's 0.70 of an acre. So the SWOT analysis on this is the strengths. Obviously it's city-owned. That means you control it at this time. Funded remediation has been treated on the site and is active and has been very vigilant. Ms. West has overseen that with Montrose, which I have kept in constant contact with. That deliverable went out several months ago on assessing what they have done, where they're at. DEP since has approved some designs to go forward with that. And you've heard from Montrose, I'm sure. Again, the view shed is epic. It's unobstructed. It's at the base of the bridge. Sure, there's many places to come into the city, but that is the official gateway into it. Again, it's not historic. That's actually not an impediment. That's a good thing in this circumstance. Weaknesses, it's a compact site. It's not large. It's not contributing to the general fund or the TIF. And opportunities are endless here with the market improving locally and regionally. Northeast Florida is the future of the state. The city has been active in multiple facets. Demolition is imminent for this site. Clean slated. and revising lot requirements in the CRA and the CBD being flexible, which is great. So, all right, so what are the threats? So it's not flattering to enter the city and see the blighted area and vacant, very hard surface, almost 100% impervious, and sitting stagnant, of course, for the last several years, and potential new use in a partnership. So we had community workshops, and we also put out a community survey. You've already seen those results, but if you haven't, and I don't usually make word slides at all, I'm more into images, but this is to preserve the record because it's not just for your edification, but this goes out to the public, so I wanted to make sure people could look to it. So overwhelmingly, you had property owners and residents working with that survey. A very large amount didn't know if they lived in the CRA district or not. I'll sidebar that recommendation at the end. Again, overwhelmingly, there was a varying degree of importance here. Very important to not very important was the outcome in the survey of whether or not this site should be activated, reactivated, left in the city, or short-term or long-term. So, but what was prevalent are all the uses that people in the community workshops contributed, as well as in the survey. Mixed use, temporary uses, food truck rallies, pop-up markets, festivals, and even just green space. So with that, going into long-term fits, mixed use again, residential retail, hotel, restaurant was overwhelmingly the most popular. Attracting visitors and tourists and supporting small businesses was the biggest emphasis of that. Community identity and long-term sustainability was the biggest concern, and combining safe places. I know you're going through some DOT improvements. I don't think they completely address actually what the bigger picture is with access, but we can talk about that later. Again, traffic and access and safety. And then I'm not going to read all of these, but there was a lot of input on everything from please activate it while a redevelopment does occur, a partnership between the city and a private developer, and what would those uses be? Now I have some images to show you, so let's just jump into the fun stuff. This is a big disclaimer. I cleared it with Ms. West to make sure that it encapsulated everything. I wanted to make sure that in no way, shape, or form anyone held the commission accountable or the CRA board accountable for any activity in the choices that we made as your consultants. We did so based on our expertise as well as very vigorous input by the community, which was really refreshing because people have really moved on from not wanting to do anything to being quite aggressive in what they said they wanted to see. So we took everybody's point of view into account, from the most conservative to the most radical, within reason of the market and what can happen here. So, scenario A, I have 4 redevelopment scenarios for you, and this is based on scale, square footage, and acreage. So what we did, the first image above there, in scenario A, on the top are the blocks. That's a massing project where we actually took to scale the setbacks, the acreage, the access of what's on the ground today. So the orange buildings comprise only that site for the Port Consolidated. That purple square back there is the surface lot that currently exists on the east side of the annex, which from what I've gathered in my experience over the 20 years and asking some folks at the city, is it utilized for staging? Is it regularly used? And the answer was no. But nonetheless, even if it were, we are looking at it as an option for parking. So if you look below, some of those renderings are utilizing existing architectural styles here in Palatka that we've got on the south side that's been very successful. So that is mirroring what exists here historically. People want modernization, but they also want to sustain the character, and so we took that greatly into consideration. I do want to apologize for the palm trees. Those are supposed to be crepe myrtles and oaks, and they are being changed right now. So the plan and the presentation to the commission will have those trees replaced with proper trees, because palms are not indigenous to Northeast Florida. And the community was very vocal about that as well, no palm trees. So I thought it was a little funny that I accidentally have some palm trees in there. And they're messy and they provide no shade canopy. All right, B is taking into account, again, on our own volition and community input, the motel that is on the north side of this site is the red building. If a private developer were to come into this market, it is very, very likely that they would look to peripheral properties to consolidate in order to make a more robust, successful development because of performance. It's very simple. In order to be able to meet the bottom line of development performance, you have to have certain things that work out with your capacity and absorption rate and usability. And so it's very likely that that could be something someone could approach that owner about, but he has not been approached and that discussion has not been had. But you see in the bird's eye view to the lower left and street view on the lower right, that is what the Port Consolidated site would look like if you incorporated the motel property as well as that annex surface lot. Scenario C goes even further, and the community was very in on this, is to go even further to that vacant lot that is owned by the owner of the Quality Inn, that is the northernmost portion of that block. So that takes into account going down, and Federal Street could literally be closed or left open for access, and we'll show you in the final scenario how that's been contemplated. Here's D. I know that's quite large and overwhelming and frankly probably too large a scale for town, but we wanted to really show you what the potential is if you went from one extreme to the other. That takes into account the Port Consolidated site, the motel, the annex lot, and the vacant lot that the Quality Inn owner has on the northern portion of this block. All these scenarios left two things in place. The City Hall, this building, very much appreciated and loved for its historic nature, and people were very adamant. There was a few people that said, move City Hall, maybe leave the building, incorporate it into the project. The annex building is not historic, so that could definitely be an option to go, but for your purposes in this plan, we didn't touch either building, just out of respect for you. So with that, then we went into short-term uses. What can you do until that partnership is formed? So we went again from least to most. So the first option for a lot of people was just make it green, make it beautiful, and make it flexible. Leave it open so you can enjoy it as a park, or it can be completely utilized for any kind of temporary festival or market. So that's how we'll show the Port Consolidated site on its own merits, not with any other consolidating properties. The motel, as you can see, is still there. This is the street view. Here's option 2. This is when a temporary festival or marketplace goes in for seasonal events. I know you have a very successful market on the weekends over at the courthouse in the Putnam County buildings. This could be all kinds of different temporary uses. And we put the fountain in. I even thought about putting a band shell in or gazebo. You could have a few hardened assets, but you want to leave that space as open as possible for the short-term use to be flexible and the long-term use, less demolition so the developer can come in with a clean slate. And option 3 is food truck rally. That was a big one also. So you can park that on the grass. You could put impervious pavers, pervious pavers. But again, it's just one more expense that would be temporary because, in our opinion, this site is suited for redevelopment. So those are great short-term uses that can be done so with the help of your legal team and your city management on how to handle that. And it's, once demolition is through, it's capped, it's cleaned, and it's ready to go. So with that, we jump into the final slide, which is basically your toolbox. And this is further outlined in your redevelopment plan, which is finalized. It's coming to you as the final draft because we're going to leave time after that presentation for a couple weeks to allow for your comments from that hearing coming up to make any revisions or additions to the plan. So basically, we looked at the most popular ways as a former economic development, redevelopment specialist for cities and planning director in the public and private sectors. I've seen all of these tools be used. And I've seen what works and what doesn't work almost uniformly. And I can tell you that long-term land leases backfire almost every time. It is something that grades on your budget. It's something that is not attractive to private sector developers. They are not inspired to want to make improvements and invest money in something they don't own. I can also tell you about the RFP and RFQ process to try to solicit people with great ideas. I have seen more money be wasted and more time wasted on artists with beautiful ideas that are not in the development world. They do not have the money nor the inclination to ever build anything, but they are very artistic and very creative on what they can draw you. So 99% of the time, I have seen nothing come from the RFQ process except for some really good art. So with that, the only recommendation that we bring to you that will be in that plan is a litany of items you can use at your disposal that exist. And that's everything from your current CRA TIF, REV grants, which are based on after-the-fact development. Once the builder has built it, they get their COU. Then after their first year of operation, they file for their taxes, they pay their taxes. Then they come to you based on their economic development agreement, their EDA, whether it's a 70% return on taxes for 20 years or 50% or whatever you negotiate, then they would get back some of their taxes. So if you do want to incentivize anyone, I'm not saying you have to or that you should, I'm just saying there are ways to sweeten the pot on a developer coming in and putting up a lot of money to do things and having something at your disposal. Well, we all know, and they should know, whoever that developer will be should realize that you do not have riches here and that you need to be very conservative on how you spend them. So with that, that concludes this presentation. The plan is far more robust, so I don't want to get into all of that, but I just wanted to show you that this is kind of the bottom line of where we've landed. So if you have any questions for me, I'm here.
Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Dietrich?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
This is very impressive. As a lifetime Putnam County resident, I love to see this vision. I look forward to it. And probably my favorite part, it's kind of strange, but in scenario D,
Can you go back to D, please, Karen?
you included a large parking structure.
In the center, yep.
I think that is a huge economic driver for the entire downtown community.
Yeah, that was done on purpose because if a developer can pick up the motel, then Federal Street can actually become part of that consolidation, at least half of it. You can leave this half of it for City Hall and City Annex to access easily, but that can become a consolidated effort in which the parking structure can serve all your festivals. The shared parking agreements has always been something I've been pushing for, because you do have a lot of property you can use for temporary parking lots, but yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I think it'd be huge for our downtown merchants to have a centralized parking area that would support them. So I commend you. This really looks nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Mr. Deputy?
I just want to say thank you. I was a part of a couple of those meetings, and they were wonderful. I love the input. I love the freshness. I love saving the building. I love it. Thank you.
Well, these are direct results of everybody's comments. Literally. So.
Thank you. Anybody? Thank you, Ms. Dietrich, for everything.
Ms.
Go ahead.
Dietrich, I attended some of those workshops as well, a couple of them. And I just want to know, when I'm looking at the statistics that you showed here, what are the numbers? How many people were actually polled? Because, you know, the percentages is one thing.
That's right.
But a percentage of this room could signify something when you put it into writing. But when we look at the reality of how many people actually input, it's a different story. So do you have those numbers?
I do. So public meeting, I'll talk about two, because we did three different things. We had, as you know, your website, your social media page, flyers, advertisements in the papers, following all of your ordinance code regulations on how to notice public workshops was done so. There were two different meetings. We purposely had one in the daytime to allow for folks that can't or don't want to go to night meetings, and then we had one at night also, so folks that couldn't make a day meeting could do so. Then, several weeks after those workshops, then a survey was sent out. Now, the sample of the survey, you're absolutely 100% correct. Sampling is very difficult because it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 people or 55 is your answer. 55 people participated in the survey. I actually brought it with me. If you'd like to see it, I have an extra I can give you as a copy. So those results were tabulated from 55 people that decided to go online and take that. It was email blasted to everyone that's registered on that very large email address that always is evolving. It was put on the website. So we can't make people do things, but we certainly invited them to do so. So yes, the sample is small. And the workshops were heavily attended. The day meeting was actually more attended than the night meeting, which was really cool. So I think we had over 125 people total that came to the meetings, which in Palatka, that's a lot of people.
You had 125 people in here?
Combined two different
Combine
workshops.
both meetings, right?
Yeah, because I was here. I didn't.
Yep. Yeah, you were at the night meeting.
Yeah, I didn't see
Yeah.
close
The
to
day meeting
100
was
people.
Way bigger.
Okay.
And then we also had people that called, and there was one gentleman who apparently had some concerns, and I spoke with him, and I think he'd spoke even with you, Commissioner, with regards to some confusion on how TIF works, and so I was hoping that that was resolved. But I do offer you this. I know it's not on this item, but as a former FRA rep for the Northeast Florida area, and I still will do this at zero cost, is come and do a Area 101 presentation with the slideshow printed out in a little booklet that I will leave for you, it seems like there needs to be a refresher.
No, I actually attended, and like you said, I talked to stakeholders, and it was varying degrees of what people want to see, and it reflects that here. But again, the numbers, when you talk about the sample size, I mean, it could be misleading, I'll just say that. But thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to Commissioner Borum. Commissioner Borum?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And Ms. Diedrich, thank you for that presentation. It was very, very informative. As it relates to the potential for that particular project, what was laid out is very well represented. But this just came about, I guess, within the last year and a half or what have you, because the city, it was not part of the city's comprehensive plan that was in the plan or in the CRA plan within the last year or year and a half. So that all came about during the land swap with the Blue Crab Development Group. So all of this stuff came within the last year and a half as it relates to that. So I know we're talking about doing something with developers and making the pot sweeter. We can't get it no sweeter than it is right now, because what I've seen, it's going to take quite a bit of time to even recoup the return on investment that we supposed to have made with the land swap, over a $3 million building for a petroleum contaminated site. So it's going to take quite a bit to recoup those funds. And we can't make the pot any sweeter than it is right now. So in terms of the city to continue to lose on investments, I'm just not friendly to some of those particular things. So I look forward to other options as it relates to the city taking up this thing to help do the full cleanup and all. And I'm just a little bit perturbed about that whole thing. The city having to take a swap that it wasn't ready and available for us to move forward with utilization of the property.
If I may, I'd like to respond.
Go ahead.
I'm aware of the land swap, not every detail of that. You'd have to seek your legal counsel on that. I know land swaps, usually if there's a monetary difference between the swap, the difference is paid to the city, so I hope that occurred. Now, with response to sweetening the pot, so to speak, I think the city actually is about complete with what their contribution should be. A city's responsibility is not to pay for private development. It is not to provide things that are beyond their purview. It's infrastructure, access, safety, expeditiously facilitating the process. So I think between the remediation and demolition as a city responsibility, other than that, I think that's a wonderful contribution in itself for anyone who might be the future developer. Because making it clean and ready to go is your contribution.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thank you for that comment. But again, I don't think that the city should have to take up the remediation piece. Anytime you have a land transaction or what have you, we still having to do the cleanup. Normally, you don't have any remediation. The other party take care of the remediation, and then you move forward from there. But that's another day, another story. But I really appreciate you and thank you for your options that you provided us.
Thank you, Commissioner Borum. Anybody else have any comments or input? Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, but not for this.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Deputy. Who are you asking?
For Ms. Nicole.
Ms. Nicole.
Ms. Nicole, I'm sorry. One of the things that I think would help us as we join the CRA is I would like to have a list of projects that we have going right now, because I'm not sure if the water project on the north side is a part of the CRA or if we're involved in that or have been. There's things going on downtown. The north-south sidewalks, is that a part of us or not a part of us?
So when you say that, do you mean that are happening
That are
in
directed,
place or that are funded?
that are funded, that we are responsible for.
Yes.
Ongoing projects we're responsible for. I've never received that. I think one thing that we need to do when people come on this board is we need to be given a notebook with everything going on. And we haven't been. And those that have been here know more, but that would certainly help us. And then, you know, when my sidewalk comes back up, who pays for my sidewalk coming back up on the 600 block?
You're getting off, yeah, but it is part of the large project. So we're talking about where the
This-
utility
on-
strip.
On, right, so when they take up my amenity strip, is that something the contractor, is the city having, whose mistake was my block? Is that,
I'm not laughing at y'all, you keep down there.
So it's the utility strip that has to come up and, go ahead.
Yeah, because those have to be.
Please listen though.
Colored.
since you asked
I'm
the
in the
question.
600 block. The amenity strip is coming up, the one we just poured, you know, after my 2.5 months of work on that, so, because of something. So is that the contractor paying for that, or is the city paying for
Mayor,
that?
point of order. I just
sorry.
want to stop. I want a point of order. I think the question is, what about the 600 block, not mine?
No,
Because
thank
you're
you.
a board
Thank you.
member,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
here as a business owner.
Thank you, I
Thank you.
apologize
Thank you.
for that.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
identifying, it's the
Thank you.
600 block. When the 600 block was poured, it was poured wrong. Who is paying to re-pour the 600 block sidewalk?
We have,
Thank you.
there will be a change order for the stamping, some additional information, because all of that has to be stamped, and that came up after the fact. I don't know, David, oh, he's already left.
David,
So there will be additional information provided for that. I'm not sure the time frame exactly when that's going to take place. It's all of the stamping, I believe, is coming at the end of the project, but we will present additional information for that.
Okay, so that was, okay, but who's paying for that re-pouring?
Go ahead, Ms. Curry.
This came to me today, and quite frankly, I am meeting with staff to try to figure out where those resources will come from.
Okay, now, what we're also then saying is the amenity dirt strip, the merchants are gonna have to put up with that dirt strip in front of their doors until November? Now, we were, you know, that was never in the plan that the merchants were gonna have. I mean, wow.
Well, that's because the
why does that have-
landscaping and the electrical, all of those things come at the end. So the tree wells, they're not gonna have, I mean, all of that has to come at the end with the amenity strip.
My
too.
tree wells,
Let's
the
stop.
600 block tree wells are
Yes.
already there. And so why can't, and the electricity in that block is already there. So why can't all of the blocks have their amenity strip poured? Why are we waiting?
That's the utility strip.
Those all can be left, that hole can be left there, but to walk through dirt for 6 more months in front of your door is just not acceptable.
Well, this also came because of realizing that they want those stamps done, and that has not gone through yet, hasn't been approved. So we can't go forward and put concrete there if we're gonna have to rip it all up. So we stopped at the 600 block to accommodate for what the plan is going to be moving forward once they determined what they wanted to do with the amenity strip.
Okay. Who is they? Because I'm still confused by who's running this.
The contractor, the construction manager, project manager, DCCM as well. So there's been conversation between those groups to determine how to move forward with that.
I'm still sitting here to say that this city expects their merchants on their main shopping strip to walk through dirt for 8 months. I don't see that this is appropriate. I mean, I understand, and I'm told this, I keep hearing, well, it's construction. 8 months, nobody in here would put up with a dirt front porch to their house for 8 months. And our public is voting by not coming down. And so we have some businesses that are hurting. And 8 months is just a long time.
Okay, Commissioner Davis, please.
Ms. Oth, and this may be a conversation again with the city manager and the project manager, but based on the concerns from some of our downtown merchants, is there a way, can you guys take a look at the overall project, especially with the delays, and understand, because there are several approaches to a project. You can finish the sidewalks, you can come back with this, and you come back. Is there an opportunity to complete a section at a time? That, and so maybe we can look at that. Instead of doing the individual tasks all the way down, coming back, is there a way to potentially chunk the project to complete portions? And it may be bringing in other contractors or subcontractors, but that's just a question. Can we look at opportunities to start some completions? I want to say iterative, using an iterative process.
So perhaps a
Versus a
block at a
linear
time.
process.
Perhaps a block at a time.
That's correct. Just if you guys could take that as a follow-up. And the other thing I'd like to say, as we say on the record, we have been requesting onboarding
Yes.
books and sessions, and I'm going to request that in this meeting, that occurs and is taken as a priority for all boards, especially since we'll be looking at filling boards and bringing people on. So thank you. That would be very helpful.
I also shared the sign up for the CRA 101 training with FRA, and I don't know if anybody attended it remotely, but that just happened.
So you sent out, I saw an email, but no details. I didn't even know, but.
Well, I have mentioned it here and said I would send it. I sent it to Karen. I didn't send it directly, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So the point I want to make is, I'm not talking about, that's good. I'm talking about from the city of Palatka, a specific onboarding booklet and session for our board members. Because to Mr. Alexander and Mr. Deputy and because I know the others have been here for some time. I don't know if you needed it or not, but it's very difficult to come on prepared cold turkey, and that's what we've been doing. So, thank you.
No, I agree, and I think we have said it multiple times, so.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm familiar with the onboarding training and preparation of notebooks and, having an opportunity to do one-on-one with the Public Works Director and different directors that are involved in actually trying to deliver these projects. And so I've taken notes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would like to echo what Ms. Davis said. And when we get those booklets, when you've done that in the past, Ms. Curry, would they be inclusive of the original budget number, where we're at as a dollar value, and if we've gone over budget and where that funding has been disseminated throughout the project?
That booklet would not include what you're referring to, but if you have specific questions as you come in, clearly, you can have one-on-one meetings with me and the CRA director. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you requesting a meeting with me and the CRA director to go to that level of detail.
Okay.
But I don't know that it would actually be included in the onboarding.
Or maybe just some general information. This
Sure.
project was worth $1.5 million. This
That
project worth
information
300. Yeah, where we at
That's fine.
percentage-wise? Yeah, I don't want to get like rate. I'm not an accountant, don't get me wrong. I just kind of want to know where we're at, what we're spending it on.
And,
Go ahead, Mr. Deputy.
Did we get a financial report for the month? No, because I didn't have one in my packet.
No, we didn't receive that. And are we doing them monthly or quarterly?
We're doing them monthly.
Okay.
This month, we're
They've been
doing our best to
auditing.
get, the audit report completed, so next month we'll have 2 months, report.
Thank you. Any further questions? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay. That